Hey guys, this is for our veterans. Today's topic, the state of veteran suicide 2025 update. I just want to scroll down here really quick and show you the suicide rate among women veterans is 92% higher than non-veteran women. For male veterans, the rate is almost 60% higher. It's costing their lives. It's not like there's any margin here. 92%, 60%, that's extremely alarming. However, the point of today's topic is to go over that there are solutions. There are plant medicines available. There are solutions for our veterans. And we're going to watch on the Joe Rogan Experience how there is therapy available for our veterans. This is episode 2251, Rick Perry and Brian Hubbard. So Rick Perry was the governor of Texas, and Brian Hubbard is the attorney. Now, this entire episode is definitely worth watching for our veterans to support and push the psychedelics to be allowed or legalized so that we can start healing our brothers and sisters. Now, what's even more alarming is that we're going to go into how certain drugs that have an alarming impact on our society in negative ways have zero regulation and have zero prohibitions. And it just goes to show that a lot of these scheduling of drugs has nothing to do with how they affect us, but who profiteers from the suffering and addiction of our brothers and sisters. So we had a lot of recording issues. It seems like it just stopped recording after we were coming across how the DEA was basically stopped by 51 members of Congress from scheduling kratom as a drug of concern. And when I asked ChatGPT who these 51 congressmen were, it gave me this error message stream. But thankfully, we have Brave. So in 2016, 51 members of Congress, both senators and representatives, pushed for the DEA to delay the scheduling of kratom. So we're going to parade these wonderful congressmen from delaying the scheduling of this highly addictive substance that has no federal regulation. Okay? The effort was led by U.S. Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon. Let's see their faces. U.S. Senator Ron Wyden. Let's see your face. There you go. Ron Wyden. Seems like a good fella, doesn't he? All right, who's next? Cory Booker, New Jersey Democrat. Oh, Ron Wyden, also Democrat. What other programs do Democrats also support? Maybe you guys can comment below on what those are. Cory Booker led the charge on not scheduling kratom. A familiar face in the political atmosphere. Cory Anthony Booker. I wonder if they could be held accountable for the lives that are being destroyed right now because of kratom. And Kirsten Gillibrand, Democrat, New York. Since 2009, New York. Kirsten Gillibrand. How sweet, the teddy bear. So these three representatives sent a letter to the DEA expressing concerns about the rushed emergency scheduling process. Additional support came from Senator Bernie Sanders. Feel the burn in that one, Bernie Sanders supporters. Feel the burn in that one. Take a good look. Orrin Hatch, Republican, Utah. How nice. It seems like Republicans and Democrats don't have issues when it comes to addressing concerns about rush scheduling processes of drugs. Right? Take a good look at that. Oregon. Utah. "42 years. 42 years. Mark Pocan, Democrat. Mark Pocan, Democrat. Take a good look, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Take a good look at the politicians who are actively working towards destroying American lives. Actively working. So these are the representatives and congressmen who helped organize the letters urging a public comment period and proper scientific review. 51 members urging delay and public input. Where was the public input? 2 senator letters, congressional concern, or bypassing stakeholder input. There's the key. Stakeholder input. From who? Who has a stake? Stakeholder is usually a term used in business when there are people who have invested in businesses, who started businesses, who operate businesses. They are owners. So what stakeholders rushed 51 members of Congress to force the DEA to stop the scheduling of a drug? Let's find that out through Brave AI. Oh, he's also a Latter-day Saint gentleman who apparently supports drugs. So all of you Seventh-day Adventists out there, all you Christians, take a good look at the governor of Arizona who is for Kratom. Not only for Kratom, but basically told the DEA to stop scheduling it. Okay, so now let's look into, they with emergency scheduling notice. So who are these stakeholders? Oh, with arguments that Kratom had potential benefits for opioid addiction and chronic pain. How thoughtful. How thoughtful. Okay, who are these bypassing stakeholders' input? Healthcare professionals? Lawmakers argue that the DEA's initial move bypassed these groups. So law enforcement, federal agencies, and Kratom users. Elaborate. The American Kratom Association? Small business owners and vendors in the kratom industry concerned about criminalization. Scientists and researchers studying kratom's pharmacology and potential medical benefits. Healthcare professionals. That's crazy. Department of Health and Human wow, it's just backwards. So let's go back to, I don't know at what point it cut off, where how Ibogaine, this miracle substance, is healing our veterans from not only committing suicide, but also the pharmacology aspect of the veterans coming back from war. They're not treated, they're prescribed all these medications that add to the trauma, that add to not only their PTSD, but now they become addicts of these substances. And on this podcast, this attorney clearly states the facts, the scientific studies show that Ibogaine not only heals the brain, but completely liberates the individual from any addiction of substances, particularly the pharmacology substances.
2018.
Brian, pull that microphone up to your face a little bit. There you go.
How's that?
Perfect.
All right. In 2018, individuals by the name of Amber and Marcus Capone founded an organization called VETS, Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions. Marcus Capone had been a special operator, and he had done multiple tours in both Afghanistan and Iraq. When he came home, finally from war, Amber described an individual who bore no resemblance to the man that she married. He came home as a severely traumatized individual and was met by a system which could not in any way effectively address the nature of his trauma. Recognizing that his life was at stake, as well as the future of her family, she became desperate and went online and discovered the existence of a compound called Ibogaine. She made arrangements for Marcus to receive treatment from an individual by the name of Martine Polanco, who operated a clinical operation called Mission Within. Amber, as a last shot at saving her family, sent him to Mexico to receive Ibogaine treatment. She said when he returned, he came back as the man she remembered marrying before he ever went to war. As they learned about other friends of theirs who were coming back home with similar circumstances, on the verge of familial dissolution, with Marcus and his friends at the verge of suicide, they began, just as a friend group, to put money together to send their close circle of individuals down to receive this treatment. They came together to form VETS, and since 2018, over 1,000 veterans have traveled to the Ambio Clinic south of Tijuana to receive Ibogaine treatment for symptoms of traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder. Because of the miraculous outcomes which were endorsed by the veterans who were receiving this treatment.
Miraculously endorsed by the veterans receiving this treatment. So let's just go back to the statistics of missionrollcall.org Veteran Voices. 92% of women, 60% of male veterans committing suicide. And here we have a drug that has been scheduled under Schedule 1 that has miraculous treatment for veterans, as if the trauma and the pharmacology never existed. It's like if it was completely erased. It's a Schedule 1 drug.
A group of philanthropists funded a study out of Stanford University, which was led by Dr. Nolan Williams. And over the course of several years, a cohort of 30 veterans were evaluated before and after Ibogaine treatment. They were evaluated comprehensively through the administration of a battery of psychological tests to quantify the nature and duration of their symptoms. They underwent pre- and post-treatment MRI scans. These scans were compared against a database which had been compiled of hundreds of thousands of healthy adult brains covering the human lifespan. And through an algorithmic assessment, the question was, what was the physiological effect upon the human brain, if any? To explain these miraculous outcomes were veterans who had been on the verge of suicide, who had been paralyzed by symptomatology associated with profound anxiety, profound depression. In many cases, veterans who were prescribed an array of habituating pharmacology which ineffectively addressed their symptomatology were not just back to what they could remember being before they experienced their trauma, but had been liberated from that pharmacology. The results of that study are nothing short of miraculous when it comes to the way in which Ibogaine has been revealed to have significant neurodegenerative properties that impact the human brain.
Neurodegenerative properties that impact the human brain. While we have 51 members of Congress urging the DEA to stop the scheduling of a highly addictive drug. Meanwhile, a drug, quote unquote drug, that has been shown to regenerate the brain is a Schedule 1 drug. That means that it is illegal to have it, use it, or distribute it. It's not even allowed in clinical studies.
With profound implications for conditions for which there are no current effective treatments. Specifically, the white matter that covers the surface of our brains, which is the highway across which all of our thoughts and impulses travel, grew and thickened in size across the entire surface of each of these veterans' brains. The centers of the brain responsible for emotional regulation and executive functioning grew in size. The average reversal of brain age among this cohort of 30 veterans was 1.5 years, with the top 5 among that cohort seeing a reversal of brain age of almost 5 years.
Wow.
Right now, there are individuals who live offshore from the United States who are using Ibogaine to effectively treat symptoms associated with multiple sclerosis, Lyme disease, and Parkinson's disease.
So not only is Ibogaine healing the brain, reverse the aging of the brain by 5 years, liberating individuals from pharmacology, PTSD, CPTSD, but also multiple Lyme disease and Parkinson's disease. How many people do we know? How many people would this help?
Just about 2 weeks ago, Governor Perry and I had the privilege of spending some time with a researcher who is based out of the University of Zurich in Switzerland. This researcher has developed a protocol for the treatment of Parkinson's symptoms with Ibogaine. We had the privilege of visiting with one of his patients who wishes to remain anonymous, as well as a family member of this patient. We were shown a video whereby this individual had developed Parkinson's disease at the age of 41. It had advanced so aggressively that by age 51, this gentleman was completely bedfast. As a last resort, he underwent an invasive intracranial surgical procedure called deep brain stimulation, where they drilled holes through his skull and implanted electrodes which were designed to stimulate the production of what is called glioneurotropic growth factor, which essentially stimulates the the dopamine receptors to produce dopamine, the absence of which is implicated in the development of Parkinson's disease. And while this gentleman was no longer bedfast, he was not able to volitionally control his bodily movements. The video that we saw demonstrated his attempts to stand and walk, and the ability to walk was non-existent. After he had undergone the deep brain stimulation, he signed up for euthanasia services in the country in which he lives because it is legal, and he was at the end of his rope. He underwent a 4-week course of upward titration with low-dose Ibogaine that did not produce a psychoactive experience. And at the end of those 4 weeks, that gentleman was able to stand, walk, and function as a normal human being. The outcome is nothing short of miraculous.
His mother said that he rode his bike every day now. I mean, I'm telling you, Joe, this is the most stunning. I mean, it's a short video. I get it. It's anecdotal. But for my purposes, it was just backing up what we have seen and what we've learned about how Ibogaine. Now, the treatments down in Mexico are flood doses. This was a microdosing that they did over there.
Just today. So we left off where Governor Perry was explaining the story of this individual who had invasive brain surgery, and after microdosing with Ibogaine, he was able to ride his bike again. From being bedridden, having no control over his body, to riding his bicycle after microdosing Ibogaine.
Really what we think it is, and if it is, this needs to be widespread treatment for MS, for Parkinson's, for addictions, for PTSD, for traumatic brain injury. I mean, I think we're on the cusp of some extraordinary medical breakthroughs because of this compound, Ibogaine.
Sophisticated medication on the planet. The results of that Stanford study were published in a top 5 medical research journal called Nature Medicine on January 5th, 2024. An organization called the Brain and Behavioral Research Foundation named that study as its number 2 study in terms of neuropharmacology in the world for the year 2024. I have become convinced that any system which maintains Ibogaine's criminality is in fact criminal and needs to be tore apart brick by brick.
Let's hear that again.
An organization called the Brain and Behavioral Research Foundation named that study as its number 2 study in terms of neuropharmacology in the world for the year 2024.
In the world.
I have become convinced that any system which maintains Ibogaine's criminality is in fact criminal.
Amen.
And needs to be tore apart brick by brick.
Let's tear it apart brick by brick.
In the world for the year 2024.
If 51 senators, mostly Democrat and Republican, can come to terms to stopping the DEA from scheduling a highly addictive drug due to stakeholder input, then where is the action to protect our veterans? Where is the action, Bernie Sanders? Where is the action, Cory Booker? To utilize this medication and save the lives of our veterans, of those who are addicted, to those who are suffering from diseases. Where is the action? It has nothing to do with public health and safety. It has everything to do with stakeholder input. These past few years have been a revelation of how systematically adjusted our government is to stakeholder input. Have a good week, you guys. I'll see you next time.